What if Civ was an RTS game? What if one round of Age of Empires spanned all human history? These questions and more are answered by Rise of Nations Extended Edition, a strategy genre innovator that's old enough to be served alcohol now, but it doesn't need any DOS emulator wizardry to enjoy because it's right here on your Xbox Game Pass library. The lines of delineation are usually pretty clear in any strategy landscape. The RTS games go over there in the Westwood Suite with their cheesy cutscenes and tank rushes. 4X games get their own hex tile just next to turn-based tower and grand strategy games. Well, they basically all live in the Paradox launcher. But back in 2003, big huge games weren't content to colour within the lines. They wanted to make a strategy game that cherry-picked the best bits from every sub-genre. And this is the result. Rise of Nations, one of the best instant gratification RTS games, and at the same time a mega long form strategy that spans ancient times to modern day. It won't get your RTX 4090 fans spinning up, and it's not going to give you an easy ride. But Rise of Nations Extended Edition is a true classic, a bona fide hidden gem in Game Pass. So while you wait for our build queues to finish, let's delve into the nuts and bolts. When you start a new campaign in the game, you're met with a choice. Do you start in the days of Alexander the Great, conquering the ancient Middle East, or do a Napoleon and paint all of the colonial era Europe your colour? Do you take on the newly discovered Americas, rewrite the Cold War, or just take over the entire modern world? As if it wasn't happy enough with that non-so-subtle flex about its skill, even the tutorial missions take you on a journey through time. From Boadicea to the Battle of Britain, via Alfred the Great, Henry VIII and the 100-Year War. It's not that you just pick from a selection of historical periods. Just like a Civ game, as you research new technologies, the game evolves along with you. Buildings morph according to the age you're in. Soldiers and citizens get a period authentic makeover, and new buildings and unit types unlock over time. So even in a skirmish match, you might start off pitting off men in togas and spears against each other, and finishing off marshalling fighter planes and assault infantry. You can even mess around with a speed setting to accelerate time and whiz through all human history in a few dizzying minutes, if you can click fast enough to keep on top of your micro and macro. And as you get into each campaign, it becomes clear how many layers there are here. You've got diplomacy to consider. Maybe you make your peace with your neighbors instead of tank rushing them, or espionage missions if you don't want to go all out with combat but still enjoy the sight of retro missiles hitting enemy buildings. And just in case that wasn't enough different genres for you, the campaign has a turn-based layer too, where you plot out actions you intend to complete on the world map. Here's the thing about this being a game from the glory days of RTS. When a new Command & Conquer release was a guaranteed chart topper and everyone had a few shortcut keys memorized for base building, the standard was high. Not just standard for strategy games themselves, but the standard of play expected of you, the desk chair general in charge of balancing resource management, research, economy, and unit deployment. Even on the easier difficulties, AI generals keep you under constant pressure. There's no hiding away in the early game with one combat unit and turtling while you spam the research options. Enemies turn up in hordes and regularly, so you really do need to keep your head in resource management, furthering your research and economy, and building an advanced army all at once. It's the classic RTS coordination challenge, the equivalent of rubbing your belly while tapping your head, but with far bloodier consequences. The most satisfying victories though are the ones where you completely outclass your opponent on the field with superior technology. Turning up to a bunch of spearmen with rifles might not be big or clever or particularly sporting, but it's a hell of a spectacle. Plus, they deserve it for bugging you with all of those mini rushes in the early game. The war elephant in the room is that Rise of Nations Extended Edition is now over 21 years old. So the chances are, if you are going to install it today, nostalgia is a factor. How could it not be? Those pre-rendered isometric backgrounds are a heady hint of Windows XP era world conquering. Likewise, the simple but characterful unit animations, and the earnest satisfaction with filling your screen with them and sending them in a very non-strategic scrum to lay waste to an enemy capital. Often you have to put in a bit of work to enjoy a slice of history like this, searching for fan patches, widescreen fixes, and intoning the right arcane charts into DOS box. Thankfully, the Game Pass version works great on modern systems as soon as you install it. Widescreen resolutions in up to 4K are available without any need for tinkering. And since this is an extended edition, you also get the Thrones and Patrons expansion, which adds a lot of scenarios, wonders, and government types to the base game. It's the definitive version of a strategy hybrid classic. It works perfectly on modern PC, and it's waiting for you in the Game Pass library right now.